Joining us live now is the Israel Defence Forces International Spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus. Thank you very much for joining us. Just looking at your Twitter feed, it says right now hundreds of thousands of Israelis are running from their Shabbat dinner tables to bomb shelters as sounds of sirens across central Israel are heard. And I've just heard directly from some people in Tel Aviv that they had literally seconds before bombs went off. Can you tell us more?
Yes, thank you for having me on the show. I myself am in Tel Aviv, and just like you described, sirens and then afterwards explosions. At this time, I cannot confirm yet if there were impacts on the ground or if the sound of explosions were interceptions by the Iron Dome. I am not aware of any reports of Israeli casualties, but yet rockets were fired at Tel Aviv again and again. Israeli civilians are running to their shelters. They're being targeted by Hamas. They're not combatants. They're not part of the war. They're just civilians having their Shabbat dinner, but they are a target by Hamas.
Also hearing, not all people in Tel Aviv have bomb shelters to go to.
Yeah, I mean, Tel Aviv isn't the combat zone that southern Israel is or northern Israel is, which are two areas where there's a long history of sustaining rocket attacks and being in almost an active combat zone, a war zone. In Tel Aviv, not everybody is as equipped. The only good thing is that in Tel Aviv, people have longer time. Here we're talking about 90 seconds, 90, between when the rocket is fired and until the impact is, if there is an impact, whereas in southern Israel, it's 15 seconds in the area closer to the Gaza Strip, and then there's areas where they have 20 seconds and 30 seconds, it depends, but you can do a lot of things in 90 seconds if you really want to do it.
And talk us through what's happening in Gaza. 24 hours notice for around 1 million people to flee from the north to the south. We know Gaza is a densely populated area. Can you clarify the types of warnings that are provided to civilians in preparation for these attacks?
Yes, we're trying to do the right thing here. What we've done is to give a clear, understandable, and timely warning to Palestinian civilians in Gaza, telling them what they need to do in order to enhance their security and enhance the chances of not being affected. And we have communicated through the UN and its various institutions. We have dropped leaflets, we have said it on social media, and we have said it on TV, and we have even made phone calls. All of it obviously in Arabic, with the purpose of providing them enough time to heed our warnings, to evacuate, so that they are out of what is going to become an active combat zone where we are going to intensify our military operations. And this is out of a concern for their safety. We're advertising our intentions, which usually militaries aren't very fond of doing, because then your enemy can use that and prepare accordingly. But we choose to try to do the right thing and to get civilians out of the way.
We believe there are still 150 hostages, including women, children, elderly, men, soldiers. We're also hearing some people are in communication. I spoke to yesterday. They're in communication online to some residents, they believe, in Gaza that say Hamas have said that these hostages have been released. They're not confirmed, but this is what people are telling me, that they are speaking to people in Gaza. What would you say to those comments?
I have not heard even a semblance of such a comment, and I'm not aware of, unfortunately, sadly, of any release of hostages. I wish that was the case. I wish Hamas leadership would say, okay, we did a very, very big overstep here, and we grossly underestimated the situation. We took civilian hostages, and it's probably within our own self-interest to return them. That would be a wise thing, and that would spare many, many lives in Gaza. Unfortunately, that is not the mettle of Hamas. Hamas are bloodthirsty beasts who crossed into Israel, murdered and executed our civilians, and took our people hostage. The aim of our campaign is to totally dismantle Hamas and its military capabilities. So at the end of this war, when everything is said and done, Hamas will not have the ability to kill or hurt or threaten Israeli civilians ever again, not from the Gaza Strip and not from anywhere else.
So do you know where the 150 hostages are at this stage? Any idea on the situation?
Well, the biggest likelihood is that Hamas is hiding them underground using their elaborate network of tunnels that they have built over many, many years under the Gaza Strip, a network of tunnels that, by the way, serves only Hamas. They don't allow civilians in their tunnels to save them from bombings and the dangers on the ground. This is only for Hamas, and that is most likely where they are hiding our hostages.
So what do you think is going to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours? Again, we've just heard the bombs going off in Tel Aviv with seconds warning. We've got the 24-hour warning for Gaza. What more do we need to know, and what do you anticipate will happen over the next, well, couple of hours even?
Yeah, what I really hope will happen is that Gazans will heed our warning and do what is right for them, for their safety and for the safety of their families, and go south, cross the Gaza River, which is a very dominant terrain feature, easy to see and understand where it is, go south and be in a safer place. That is what I hope will happen, and that they won't listen to what Hamas is telling them, which is don't evacuate. And I think it is extremely cynical, the fact that Hamas is telling civilians don't evacuate, while we are telling them, if you don't evacuate, you're putting yourselves at risk and you should evacuate. And I think that really sums up the situation. Other things to be expected is that we will intensify operations in Gaza City. That is why we are asking civilians to leave the area, because we intend to intensify our operations. We aim on the Gaza City because that is the hub and center of Hamas, its military capacities and its administrative capacities, and we are going to target all of Hamas in order to dismantle their military capabilities.
And a lot of questions are being raised as well in regards to how such a large number of people in Gaza in the north are going to get to the south. There's not a great deal of roads. I believe, one big road. Can you describe to us, please, how they are meant to get from the north to the south?
By foot, by car, by horse, by any means available. When a person wants to save his life, he can accomplish significant feats, and this is the situation that the Palestinian civilians find themselves in. Because of Hamas's activities, because of Hamas and their abuse of civilian infrastructure, because Hamas hides behind the civilians and uses them as human shields, the Palestinians now face these dire consequences. And what we're telling them is, do whatever you can, take your belongings that you can carry and move south in order to save yourselves.
And finally, Colonel, can you bring us up to speed on your army? I believe 360,000 military forces. How are they? And tell us about the latest in preparations with them.
Yes, they are deployed in significant numbers around the Gaza Strip, getting ready, getting their equipment ready, studying missions that they probably will be given, and getting ready for the next stage of operations, which may or may not come. I'm not going to telegraph it here, but they may or may not come. But those ground troops are ready to do what ground troops usually do. When, where, and how, that will leave for the future. But again, the aim here is to dismantle Hamas and its military capabilities. How that will be done, we will see in the coming days, weeks, and months. Hopefully it doesn't take as long as that. But the end state is what we are focused on. The means will be, you'll be able to see them as they unfold.
We have to wrap it up, but Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, thank you so much for your time. We wish you all the very best. Stay safe.
Thank you.